Okay, this time, I want you to take advantage of the acoustics, okay? How is everybody feeling? Alright, I first want to welcome everybody to the Montana Centers for Independent Living Rally Day in conjunction with Montana Disability Voices. And can I get a big round of applause for, among others, Joel Payton, Travis Hoffman, and all of the advocates on the front lines and thousands behind them representing our voices here every day at the legislature. Thank you very much. So we're going to try to keep the energy level up here. If you're unaware, there's informational sheets in the back table behind you detailing some of the wins, some of the concerns we have, and some of the overall message for today. If you see a representative, yours or otherwise, and have a chance to talk to them, these are some of the points you can go over. Or you can hand them a sheet and say, hey, here you go. Thank you for stopping by. With our overall theme, as it is every year, is the idea that as people with disabilities, we deserve access to community and to choice. And those two things take a lot of different forms and are covered in many different bills. But when we boil it down to its basics, it is about community and about the choices that we have and the choices that we are denied access to that maybe other people do. So, I wanted to, this is an oldie but a goodie. It's a pop quiz, but I'm going to give you the answers, all right? I'm going to say, what do you want? And you're going to say in the most enthusiastic voice you can, community. And I'm going to ask you, when do you want it? And you're going to say now. And you can sign it. You can say it with your heart if you're uncomfortable. I will give a warning. As you can tell, it's loud in here just talking normally. So it's going to get really loud when we all do this. And if that's something you're sensitive to, absolutely take care of yourself. Cover your ears. Take a moment. Pause. You can step away if that helps. But I wanted to give that warning. Alright, are we ready? Alright, what do we want? When do we want it? What do we want? When do we want it? One more time. What do we want? When do we want it? That was beautiful. Yeah, I'm gonna... Well, thank you, everybody. It is my pleasure to introduce our first speaker in the program, who's taken time to address us today. Please give a warm independent living welcome to Senator Olszewski.
Thank you. You know, it's great to see you here. You know, this is the people's house, and that means for all people. And I'm just excited that you've been here. As many of you know, I'm Dr. Al Olszewski. I'm an orthopedic surgeon, just a boy from Great Falls, Montana, who went into the military, became a doctor, and came back. Of course, they didn't want me in Great Falls, so I ended up in Kalispell for the last 22 years. Here's the deal, right? What is community? Community means that we are in common with each other, right? It's to communicate with each other. We do not want to be isolated. We are a family. And we need to remember that. In Montana, we are strong people. We overcome our obstacles, and sometimes it requires us to lean on our family. We lean on our brother and our sister, but we allow them to lean on us. We work together. And that's just plain and simple. It's being family, right? I am very proud of you. I'm proud of how you work as a family, as community, as you lean on each other. I am impressed when I see how you each, if you have the ability, you attend to each other and you hold each other up. And that inspires me and inspires other legislators to, again, to be a part of your community. You are a strong people. You are Montanans and the strong when you are a community. I will tell you right now, this is not a Republican issue, a Democratic issue, it's a Montanan issue. And it is part where we, as your legislators who represent you, need to make sure that we listen to you and we do everything we can so you have the right to self-determination. You have a right to determine what's best for your care. That you have opportunities that anybody in Montana has, right? The way this works is your passion and the way you come here just like anybody else. And you have a right to be here. It is our privilege to listen to you. And I, along with other legislators, are honored to work to try to make sure you do have those opportunities. To work to make sure that the funding that is required so you can get out of bed, someone can help you get dressed, and so you can go to work every day, love your family, go to school, and be there at the events for your kids, that has to be offered always. So I ask you, make sure that you hold us accountable. Make sure that in all of these rules and regulations that we're not holding you down. As you work in your own community, as you live in your own house, as you have your own family, it is not the position of the government to tell you that you can't buy your kid in a car because it throws you out of your asset level. There is no reason or rhyme that we should tell you that you can't live and have your family live to its fullest and still get your assistance that's required so you can be all that you can be. Now I will tell you, I wish that I made this all up on my own, but that's not true. I would like to introduce to you another legislator who's been my mentor and someone who I have followed very closely and listened to her lead in this area. She is the true leader that I follow as it comes to helping those who need help. Representative Mary Caferro, she is my mentor.
Thank you for inviting me to be here today. I have just a couple of ramblings. First off, I want to explain to you why I have a hat on. One of our House members wears a hat every day because of her mother. Her mother had a hat collection and she wants to honor her mother. And so she wears one of her mother's hats every day, and she asked all the women in the House to also wear hats to remember people who have passed away because of cancer, including Jean Price. And so I want to talk about Representative Jean Price for a minute. Representative Jean Price just passed away a couple of days ago, and Representative Jean Price was one of us. Thanks to Representative Jean Price in my community, we now are building a playground with accessible playground equipment. And thanks to Jean Price, who is very, very small in stature, but big in heart, and committed to people who have disabilities, we have Medicaid covering mobilization. Mobility specialists for children who have low vision or are blind, and that's because of Jean Price's work and her commitment to people with disabilities and their families, and that's why I'm wearing this hat today. So I just wanted to give a shout out for Jean Price. in 10 Montanans who voted in not the last presidential election, but the one before that, I think I have this statistic right. 1 in 10 Montanans who vote have a disability. That doesn't include their family members or their workers or their co-workers or the people they go to church with or the people they hang out with, their friends. The reason I tell you this is because that is a huge voting block, and it's one to pay attention to. You are important, you are valuable, and I'm going to explain to you some of the committee work that we did, totally informed by the public. So I'm on the subcommittee of Health and Human Services for the budget. So we get to make decisions, and I'm honored to do so, about what to fund. And our subcommittee made a few decisions within our group of legislators, and one was we were going to work hard to do our best to restore cuts in the community. And so to that end, we restored cuts, not totally, but we did restore cuts to people who have developmental disabilities, children and adults with mental health, mental illness, people with physical disabilities and senior citizens. We restored some cuts to the workers who care for them, targeted case management, and we fully funded CHIP, which I know is important to everybody. We have a long ways to go, but where did we come up with that package? We came up with that package by listening to our constituents. Your voice matters, your vote matters. Thank you for being here, and stay involved. Thank you. I'm supposed to introduce the next speaker, but I also wanted to say I love you all. So the next speaker is from the Montana Budget and Policy Center, and her name is Kirsten Gerbash. And I have to tell you, I started doing this work in 2000, and I used to access the, what's it called? I'm having a hard time remembering stuff today. The budget, yeah, so the national group, that is our local group. And at that time, we didn't have a local Montana group, and I said, I wish we had this kind of a organization in Montana to support the good work of all of you and the legislators, and now we do. So with that, I'm really grateful and honored to introduce Kirsten Gerbash.
Thank you, Representative Caferro. Like Mary said, I'm Kirsten Gerbash with the Montana Budget and Policy Center. We are a nonpartisan, nonprofit research group, and our bread and butter is understanding what is happening with the state budget. And we care about that because when it comes down to it, the dollars and cents that our state puts towards these programs and services represent what we value as a state and what we value as a community. It's our investments in our communities, it's our investment in people. And frankly, the state could do a far better job when it comes to those investments. So, I'm here to give you a little update on what's going on with the state budget, but I do know that the Independent Living Centers and Disability Rights Montana and some of the legislators here today have done a phenomenal job keeping you as families and advocates up to speed on what's been going on this session so far. House Bill 2 is our budget bill, and the dollars that we really care about in the budget are called general fund dollars. That's our state tax dollars at work that can be appropriated for these services and programs that matter. They're often matched by federal dollars, but we're going to talk about the general fund dollars. That's what your legislators, our representatives, have control over to invest to make a difference in the lives of your families and our whole state. So House Bill 2 is being heard in Senate and Finance and Claims this week. They went through all the sections of the budget yesterday, and they'll be taking executive action tomorrow morning. The largest part of the work on the state budget has already come to an end. As Representative Caferro mentioned, in Section B, that subcommittee was early on in the legislative process, and that's where some of the biggest work happens for DPHHS and the specific divisions that house the programs and services that really matter to you. That being said, you're not late to the game. Having your voice heard and making sure you share your stories and your experiences with legislators as the budget is heard and voted on executive action tomorrow, and then it'll move to the Senate floor. Those are important moments to contact legislators so that they know you're holding them accountable. We did see some good news so far this session. Some of the cuts from 2017 have been restored. That shouldn't go unnoticed and unacknowledged to legislators, but there's still work to do. There's still so much need out there. At the Montana Budget and Policy Center, we advocate for a strong state budget with responsible revenue. You need money to invest money in the things that really matter to all of us. And so, as we're working through the legislative process, there's revenue bills that have been heard, but I ask you to do your due diligence, look into the opportunities, and hold legislators accountable when they say there's not enough money to go around. Frankly, that is individuals, your representatives, who aren't doing the work to find money for these services. That's what it comes down to. That's a very serious choice they make. And on that note, I'd like to introduce Jackie Moeller with Family Outreach. She's awesome, and she'll be speaking to you next.
Hello, I'm Jackie Moeller. I work for Family Outreach. I'm a licensed behavior analyst there. I like to really talk about children's services. Family Outreach does birth through the lifespan. But I've really seen over the 12 years I've been working in this field, there's a greater divide in children's services. When I first started in this field, every year we could see a few kids come on to waiver services every year. And it's been several years since we've seen that. There's less and less children's waiver services. Now the wait list is over 1,800, and I anticipate in the next couple years, 2-3 years, that the wait list will be more than the people on services. That wait list of 1,800 individuals, 70% of it is children. So there just needs to be so much continued advocacy for services for children and families. Within this last couple years, we also lost the children's evaluation services across the state, and early evaluations for children is essential for knowing what's going on and identification and treatment early on. So I just think strengthening those services is really important, and we really need to talk to our legislative people about those needs as well too. I kind of like poetry to help with thinking about what's going on in our world. So I have a poem, A Ritual to Read to Each Another by William E. Stanford. If you don't know the kind of person I am, and I don't know the kind of person you are, a pattern that others made may prevail in the world. And following the wrong God home, we may miss our star. For there is many a small betrayal in the mind, a shrug that lets the frail sequence break, sending with shouts the horrible airs of childhood, storming out to play through the broken dike. As an elephant parades holding each elephant's tail, but if one wanders, the circus won't find the park. I call it cruel, and maybe the root of all cruelty, to know what occurs but not recognize the fact. And so I appeal to a voice, to something shadowy, a remote important region in all who talk. Though we could foul each another, we should consider, lest the parade of our mutual lives get lost in the dark. For it's important that awake people be awake, for a breaking line may discourage them back to sleep. And signals we give, yes or no or maybe, should be clear. The darkness around us is deep. It's important to be awake. It's important to be awake at this time so that we can strengthen our community services and not lose all that we have gained before as well. So thank you very much for your time. I want to introduce Vern Anderson from Billings as our next speaker.
I've worked in this field for almost 20 years. I was born with cerebral palsy, and it put me in this chair, but I don't let it get in the way of anything I want to do. In fact, I have 2 daughters that look up to me pretty regularly, and one of them has a mental disorder, but she works through it really easy. So, and I don't let my disability get in the way of what I want to do. And I also, I worked for Parents Led United for Kids for 10 years, and then I also worked for Lyft, and these waiver cuts are going to affect most of our consumers. And I know that they need to happen, but I wish that they would find another avenue to take the money. But I also know that without my family's support, I wouldn't be able to live out in the community. I spent a year in a managed care facility, so I know I've seen both sides of it. But I had to fight to get out of the managed care. And I want to thank you for the time.
Good afternoon, and thank you everybody for taking the time to come out today. My name is Joel. I get the privilege of representing the independent living centers as lobbyist for our issues during the session, and it definitely is a privilege. First thing I gotta do is take a picture of everybody, because Travis is bugging me. We need a picture, so everybody smile and wave. Wave, come on, wave, 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 wave. All right, there we go. Thank you, now Travis will be happy. And that's my main focus in life, is keeping Travis happy. The last couple of years has been pretty tough, hasn't it? We've seen cuts in services, cuts in funding. We've seen providers go away, right? There is no more Helena Industries here in town. When things go bad, you have 2 options. You can get mad, or you can do something about it. Today, and moving forward, is where we as a community, as brothers and sisters in the disability world, need to make that decision that we're going to move forward and make a difference. It doesn't do any good to just complain if you can't be part of the solution. And that's what we need to do starting right now today. So how do we do that? The greatest thing about our democracy and about our country is the ability to vote. You need to make sure that you're registered to vote. As a group, we are one of the largest voting blocs that can sway elections, both locally, statewide, and nationally, if we get out to the polls and do that. So it's important to be registered and be educated and make sure you participate in that process. Thank you, Mike. The lone clap. The second thing that you do is get involved. Get involved on a daily basis as you talk to people and you share the importance of the services that we need in order to stay in our communities. And you share with your legislators. You know who your legislators are, both locally, nationally, statewide, and you talk with them. I think one of the nicest things I've come to appreciate about our legislature is that it is citizen run. Both Senator Olszewski and Representative Caferro, they're just like you and I, right? They just come here for 3 or 4 months to participate in the process, and they're easy to have conversations with. It's just like visiting with your neighbor. So contact your legislator, share the important things that we need, share the message. The other thing I'd encourage you to do is the IL centers have our action alert system, which is the way that we communicate on issues with people in the disability community. It's a way that we can share information so that you can educate yourself. If you're not signed up, please sign up. Visit any one of the websites of an IL center, whether it's Summit, Nichols, Lyft, or Milk. And there should be a button there to click on that'll take you to the website and you can register. And we're not gonna call you. We're gonna send some emails. Depends how crazy Travis gets. But it's a great way for us to communicate. Right now, I believe we have close to 900 people that are signed up. Am I close, Travis? All right, that's almost 900, right? It's just a rounding error. But we need to make that 7,000 people. If 10%, yes. If 10% of people in Montana have disabilities, that's 100,000 people. And when we put our voices together, they will listen. They will listen. So that's the part to encourage. And the last way to get involved, and this takes commitment, run for an office. Right? Run for office. Let's put people with disabilities in positions of power and the ability to make decisions. It doesn't matter if it's on your school board, if it's on your city council, if it's a county commissioner, or if it's to come here and work in this beautiful building during the legislative session. Take the time to do that. That's how we make change. The Americans with Disabilities Act is coming up on 30 years old. We know where we've been. We can watch the videos. We can see how our brothers and sisters in the past fought for the rights that we have. And now it's our responsibility to pick up that torch and carry it forward, not just for the generation that's here now, but for the generation to come. So please, tell your friends, tell your neighbors, tell your families, it's time to show the world the power that we have. The only thing holding us back is us. Thanks for letting me speak. I do want to just say a thank you to all of our speakers today. They were great. It was probably the smartest group of folks that we've had, come across and be in this rotunda during this legislative session. And they all worked hard for us, and we deeply appreciate it. Thank you to Travis and Disability Voices, Montana Disability Voices, which is a group of advocacy agencies from around the state that have banded together to try to educate and keep people informed. So this was a great day. Feel proud, right? We started with some cheers. I think we need to end with a couple. I want everybody to repeat after me. I'm here. I'm loud. I'm disabled and proud. I'm here. I'm loud. I'm disabled and proud. One more time. I'm here. I'm loud. I'm disabled and proud. We talked about democracy, right? This is democracy. The last thing we want to do is we want to share what we're doing today. So I'm going to ask you, what does democracy look like? And you're going to respond back saying, this is what democracy looks like. Ready? What does democracy look like? I can't hear you. What does democracy look like?